Hey guys, I just was pondering some more and I wanted to get on here and just kind of point out to you guys what my thought process is now versus the way it was earlier today. As I've kind of worked through some of the stuff that was going on in my mind. Um, I've had a lot of interesting things come up today that I'm slowly processing and beginning to work through. And maybe I'll even share a portion of those. But first of all, guilt was the feeling that I had, and so I wanted to go back to that guilt for a minute because before Fly, my pattern of behavior, whenever I felt like I wasn't meeting up to somebody else's expectations, is the feeling of guilt. And I sometimes have a hard time discovering these things within myself. It's easier for me to point them out in others. I think that's just human nature, probably. We tend to be able to recognize others' faults before we can see our own. So maybe in a sense that's almost how it is with when you're helping somebody else, is you can point out where they might be going wrong and what they could maybe change to be more effective with what they're doing to better themselves. And it's probably easy to see because it's along those same lines. It's almost like you saw their faults, so you also know where they have the ability to improve. Versus when we're working on ourselves, we tend to avoid working on ourselves, and because of that, we also struggle with and have an avoidance as far as doing that inner work to be able to discover those places where we can make changes and adjustments in ourselves. So I just realized that my need for guilt, and the reason that I feel guilty, is because if I'm not able to live up to somebody else's expectations, then I feel guilty because of that. And I feel like what's going on in my mind basically to meet that chemical need is if I feel guilty enough, then I'll basically regain their approval. And so subconsciously my mind is doing this in order to regain approval that I didn't recognize on a conscious level. So as I've been sitting here today thinking about guilt, I first started out the day with going back to living in that guilt because of my decision to not go to work and the judgment that I felt others were casting upon me because I didn't go to work. And I decided I didn't want to hold on to that. So I just let go of that and I worked through it, and I realized that I actually had a belief before that if I didn't do something productive, then I was wasting my day. So I would feel guilty to try to motivate myself to be productive because that's the way that I was taught, is that if my day was productive, then something was being accomplished, then I was gaining value. And so the guilt in itself I carried throughout my life, and I turned back to that guilt to be able to basically motivate myself to be productive in the places where I wasn't productive before, to therefore accomplish something to get that end goal, to gain the value that I perceived that I would get by accomplishing that goal. So basically that was what was happening in my head. And today, rather than allowing myself to remain in that guilt and try to motivate myself to get up and do something today and be productive, I decided I no longer want to hold on to that guilt. And so I just decided I'm going to be lazy today. I stayed home for a rest. I chose to do that because I felt like my body needed it. So if my body needs rest and I allow myself to do that, why should I have to feel guilty? So, yeah, I basically just relaxed all day and I haven't felt guilty because I don't need to feel guilty. I don't need to feel guilty for making a choice that serves me, that's beneficial to me, just because of somebody else's belief that they taught me in my childhood that I've carried through to adulthood. So today I recognized that I could let go of my guilt by not feeling the need to get up and be productive and just allow the guilt to leave. I shouldn't have to feel guilt because of that. I shouldn't have to feel guilt because I'm not being productive, and I don't need to give something to somebody externally to prove my value to anybody, not even myself. So yeah, today, I guess after Fly, I finally just realized that where the guilt associated, kind of where it comes from, and what I could do differently to no longer hold on to that guilt. And I just decided today to relax and enjoy my day and not worry about whether I went to work or not worry about what anybody thinks of me because I chose not to go. Because like I said before, that's on them. And so I just let go of the guilt. There's no reason to feel guilt for doing what's best for me, what serves me. So just wanted to challenge you guys today to let go of those behaviors that you might be holding on to, those emotions that are triggering you to act a certain way or be a certain thing or do a certain thing based off of something that you learned and picked up from somebody else's perceptions and their forced belief on you, basically. Because they are very limiting beliefs, and if they don't serve you and they're not your choice, then there's no need to hold on to those. So I just wanted to continue off of what I was talking about earlier to share with you guys that I was feeling guilt earlier today, and now I realize that I no longer have to hold on to that guilt. Guilt is one of those emotions that does not serve me, and today I'm choosing to get rid of the guilt. So thanks for listening.